Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Irvine. Woo! Are we ready to take back California? This is our state. And I know a lot of us here are from California, but we're also from all over the country. So I am so excited to welcome you to the first ever, the inaugural Youth Leaders Summit. Thank you for being here. You are the future of this country. Thank you. Together we can abolish abortion and make this country the place that protects every single human life. So we have a huge, huge mission at hand. And I know you're here because you know that, you feel that. And I know you're here because you have the hope and the vision that we can make our country a place that protects and nourishes life. And you're here because you see the human rights battle that we are fighting and that we are facing. And so my goal for you today is that you can leave this space that we have together and this day that we have together with increased moral clarity, with increased conviction, and I hope inspired courage to go out into the world and make our world better, make our world more welcoming and more deserving of the beautiful human lives that God gives this world. And so, first of all, I want to start with saying that today you're going to hear a lot of amazing speakers, you're going to hear a lot of amazing people, you're going to hear from scientists, you're going to hear from doctors, you're going to hear from economists, you're going to hear from philosophers and theologians, all of us saying the same thing together, which is that human life is sacred. Human life is worth fighting for. And that we know when life begins. When does life begin? Life begins at conception, at the moment of fertilization. And we know that all humans have what? Human rights. That they are universal and inalienable. And the first right is what? Life. Life is the first human right. And we also know things like this, that in the beginning, God created them what? Male and female. And we know that men are men and women are women. And we know that abortion kills a what? Human life. There's certain moral clarity that you already possess in this room that unfortunately in today's world where left is right and up is down, in today's world there's confusion around basic scientific and moral realities. And so that first step of moral clarity, we're here to gather around these basic facts of morality and science to say life is sacred, life is worth fighting for, marriage is sacred, marriage is worth fighting for, and that together, if we have this conviction in our souls and in our hearts, to not be apathetic about these truths. Because listen, the world out there is going to tell you to not care about these truths or to actually disbelieve the truth, right? They're going to actually tell you lies. You turn on social media, the mainstream media, a lot of social media, big tech, a lot of business corporations, telling lies, living by lies. And it's our responsibility to not just know what the truth is, not just to have the moral clarity that you possess in this room, but to have the conviction that it matters to speak the truth, that the truth helps people, the truth sets people free, and then to have the courage to stand up to the naysayers, to stand up to the people that oppose us sometimes or misunderstand us, and with love, with that conviction, be willing to have the courage to speak the truth. One voice of truth in a sea of lies can save the world, can change the world. And that is what we are called to be, is that voice of loving truth in a world that is so often confused. The whole heart behind this event, so this is our inaugural Youth Leader Summit, and the heart behind it was looking at the landscape of where we're at today. And I want to just share some facts about where we're at today. You guys know a lot of this, but I want to just break it down here. We are at a space right now where we're facing about 1 million abortions every single year. 1 million children killed by abortion every single year. And 9 out of every 10 abortions are happening on women who are unmarried. Women who are unmarried are having abortions. We've broken down, we've deconstructed sex from love, love from marriage, and ultimately sex from life. Now, if a child is brought into the world as unplanned, unwanted, is seen as undesirable, can be just disposed of. And so we need to reconnect these things back together, that love and marriage go together, that sex and marriage go together, that sex can bring life into the world. And that's an amazing thing. That's not a bad thing. And reconnect the dots for people about what has been so destroyed over the last 30, 40 years since the sexual revolution. We also are seeing this huge ballooning in confusion about identity. You guys are probably seeing this personally in schools, in churches even, certainly among friends. But a few decades ago, it was 2 or 3% of people identified as, let's say, LGBT. Today, it's about, of Gen Zers, it's about 30%, over a fourth of all people. We've forgotten our identity, what it means to be male, female, what marriage is, what sex is for. All of these things have been broken down and deconstructed by a culture that is desperately confused. And so Live Action, our responses say, yes, we have to change hearts and minds on abortion. We also have to change hearts and minds on identity, on what it means to be human, on what it means to be a man and a woman. And so this event is to do that and to bring in some of the best speakers, personal stories, experts to talk about that so that we can increase our moral courage, increase our conviction, and that we can increase our clarity around these most important issues of the day. I want to show you a sample about what this looks like and the impact it has when we have the moral clarity and are willing to share it. You might be told, or you might have been told at some point that, people don't change their mind on abortion, or people's minds are made up, or it's doomed. I don't know if you've heard this, but the country's going to hell in a handbasket. Things are looking so bad. None of that is true. None of that is true. I live in California. I grew up in the Bay Area, met and fell in love with my husband in Berkeley, California. By the way, he's not like a Berkeley guy. He's very, very pro-marriage, pro-life. But the point is, people change. A lot of the speakers that are going to be up on the stage today have changed stories, meaning they were living a completely different way, then they 100% flipped and became hardcore pro-life, pro-marriage, pro-family. Or maybe they believed a lie about life, about sex, and they're going to come up and share about what their journey was to change their mind or their hearts on that thing. Not every speaker, but many speakers. Some of you in this room today have that story too. Maybe you also didn't always stand for life. Maybe you also didn't always believe in these truths. Maybe you had a different upbringing, a different path, different life experiences. We all have different upbringings, paths, life experiences. But the point is, the human heart, our hearts are made for the truth. And when the truth is presented to us, sometimes just very simply, without political rhetoric, without anger, simply, sometimes gently, but clearly, it can break the hardest heart. It can clarify confusion for the most confused minds. And so this video is a sample of what that looks like, particularly on the fundamental question of when life begins and abortion, to show people that before would say, hey, of course I'm pro-choice. Of course, that's what everyone says. That's how I was raised to believe, that it's a woman's right, empowerment, who for the first time see what abortion actually does to that preborn child. And this video was filmed on the west coast of the country. So, they kind of joke, West Coast, left coast. By the way, you can be a leftist and be hardcore pro-life. And I hope there's some of you here today, because it doesn't matter your political affiliation. You can be 100% pro-life. You can be atheist. You can be any background and be 100% pro-life. But what you're going to see is West Coast cities, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, and people from the West Coast who are pro-choice learning for the first time what abortion actually is, what it actually does, and how that moved them and changed the way that they see this, one of the most important human rights issue and one of the most controversial issues that we face today in our world. So you can play the video now.
What do you think about abortion?
I'm like hella liberal, so it's like obviously I'm pro-abortion.
There are times when you do need abortion and it's up to that person and their rights and what they want to do.
It's our body, it's our decision, right?
If you're young, it's probably a good thing. If you want to go to college, it's hard with a baby in college.
And would you identify as pro-life, pro-choice, or neither?
Pro-choice, for sure.
Oh my God.
A baby at 20 weeks gestation is as big as the length of my hand, from head to rump, not counting the legs. The suction machine is turned on, and pale yellow amniotic fluid surrounding the baby is suctioned out through the catheters. With babies this big, they don't fit through catheters this size. The baby's bones and skull are too strong to be torn apart by suction alone. This is a SOFR clamp. A SOFR clamp is made of stainless steel. It's about 13 inches long. The business end is about 2.5 inches long and 1/2 inch wide, and there are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. The abortionist uses this clamp to grasp an arm or leg.
I had no idea this is how abortion takes place, right? Looking at that video and the way it was performed, it's an eye-opener. So no, I don't think any kid, any baby, any infant, any fetus should go through that. No.
I mean, it seems just in general, anytime you have to kill something, it's inhumane.
So are you saying this is a human life?
I mean, it's definitely present, you know? I mean, yeah, I guess, like, even if you can't afford to, if someone can take care of these babies, I guess, like, don't abort them, you know?
The videos that you guys show me has changed my mind. Yes, circumstances, it still makes it hard, but because of the video, I think I kind of have, like, a better idea.
And I felt bothered by it. Kind of like had a little change of mind of being middle of the road to saying maybe I would not be for abortion, no matter what, no matter what the circumstances are.
After especially seeing this video, I realized, no, like, abortion is really wrong. Yeah, really, really wrong. Wow.
It's scary to see, and I hope I will never have to do that, or I will never do that from my point now.
One word, your thoughts on what you saw?
It's actually really emotional. And I just think, I think that abortion is wrong in all cases. And maybe there should not be any laws with any exceptions.
Would you say that this video changed your mind at all about abortion and your
Absolutely, absolutely. I've never seen it in detail like this.
And who do you think should watch these videos?
I think everybody, I see especially the young girls growing up. I will show this to my daughter, that this is how they abort children.
Before a law is passed, I think they should include videos such as the video that he showed us. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people would change their mind based on it.
There's so many other options apart from abortion, and I know it sucks and like the consequences and how it happened and why you might want an abortion, but there's always another option, and you just gotta suck it up because it's a life.
Minds are changing, minds will change. And if we are willing to believe that and put into practice the courage of our conviction in speaking the truth, more minds will change. And look, it's on us. We're about 700 people here. This event is sold out. It's so exciting. And it's on us because we've been given the truth. We have this moral clarity. And there are people out there that haven't received that yet. And so it's our responsibility. I would say it's a sacred responsibility that we each have individually in this room to share the truth with love. I have a lot of heroes. I know all of you probably have your heroes, saints that I look up to, figures in history that have done amazing things. I think about somebody like Saint Joan of Arc, who is my confirmation saint. And she would say, I'm not afraid. I am born to do this. She felt called by God to go and lead her country in France, to fight back, to set her country free on the sacred mission that she was given. She would end up giving her life on behalf of this mission. I think about someone like William Wilberforce, who fought against the slave trade in Great Britain, and for years, decades after decade, would fight the same battle, and he would seem like he wasn't winning it for decades. People would still say the slave trade was okay. in the UK. They would still say it's, we can accept slavery, at least the trading of slaves, because it supports the British economy. And year after year, decade after decade, he would advocate for the fundamental radical truth that we are all created equal. And year after year, he'd give his life to this cause, and he'd get hate and he'd get pushback. And eventually he abolished the slave trade in Great Britain. And people had said it was not possible. And then it became possible. And I think about heroes like Mother Teresa, who was this little nun, and she had nothing. She was taking a vow of poverty and celibacy. And she goes to the corners of the earth, far from where she grew up, to Calcutta, India, with nothing, no money, no resources, just the blessing of God. And she goes to the poorest of the poor to provide dignity and care for thousands of the most vulnerable and the poorest. And people saw the love and felt the love of God in some of their last moments on the streets of Calcutta because of her love and her vision. I think about these heroes. I think about what they've accomplished. And I look at this room, and I believe that every single person in this room is here for a reason, is here with a purpose. Maybe you have clarity on that purpose and you're already in it and you're living, and you need to have the fortitude and the courage to keep going even when it's really tough, or even when there's distractions and temptations. Maybe you're still figuring out, what's my role? What is my purpose within this larger purpose of changing the world for the better? How does it look for me? And you're on this journey to discover that. And I want to encourage you that there is a plan specifically for you. There is a story that God wants to write with your life. And it's one to change the world for the better, to change the world, to make it a place that is more loving, more filled with the Spirit of God, with His love, with the truth that human life is sacred and has dignity, that marriage is sacred, that together the family projects that we build, family is sacred. And I believe that perhaps today you can get extra encouragement along your journey, or extra clarity on your journey in your own personal fight to discover God's calling for you and to live out your purpose. There are saints in the making in this room. There are heroes already made and in the making in this room. And this room, the people in this room, can transform the shape of this country. Think about the power of one person. There's 700 of us here today, and all the people individually that we can reach and impact. There's a quote that I love and I want to share with you from a former president, President Theodore Roosevelt. You've probably maybe heard this quote referenced before, but I think it speaks so profoundly to this project that we are embarking on together. And it's a project of, changing the face of the country, changing the face of California, changing the face of the country. And the project starts with our interior hearts, right? I talked earlier about moral clarity, having the clarity about what is right and what is wrong, knowing good from evil. We talked about conviction, which is the rejection of lukewarmness, because you can know right from wrong, but be lukewarm about it, right? You can know in the back of your head, abortion's wrong. The way that, the stuff about identity, that the confusion, men can be women and women can be men, that's wrong. It doesn't make sense. But then you're lukewarm. You're comfortable. You want to fit in. You don't want to stand out. You're afraid. You don't want to speak the truth. You don't have that conviction of the moral clarity that does exist in your heart or in your mind. But we need that conviction. We need that conviction to take us out of maybe our apathy, our lukewarmness, our comfort, and then push us into courage. And courage is the long game. Courage is not the absence of fear. You've heard this before, but courage is leaning in even when we're afraid, leaning in even when we're uncertain. Sometimes it's not like we're just scared, it's we're uncertain. Like, how do I speak what is true? How do I share this with a friend? How do I do the thing that God's calling me to do? I don't even know the exact next step to do it, right? And courage is a willingness to make mistakes. Courage is a willingness to fall down and then get back up again. Courage is the man or the woman in the arena who's willing to fight for what they believe every day and wake up with that moral clarity, with that conviction, and put that into action. And so the quote is, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better, The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who makes mistakes, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. I want us together to encourage each other to dare greatly. Dream of a world that is pro-life. Dream of a country that has abolished abortion. Dream of a culture that is a civilization of love. And then dare greatly to make it so. We can do this together. Are we in? Amen.